Today, Mercedes-Benz is an $80 billion entity, a name that serves as a global shorthand for elite engineering and high-tier status. But in 1840s Germany, the name carried no such weight. Karl Benz was born into a family struggling on the edge of poverty, a situation that became desperate after his father died when Karl was only 2 years old. Despite having almost no financial safety net, his mother, Josephine, prioritized his education above all else, ensuring he studied mechanical engineering even when the family was near starvation. The luxury now associated with the brand masks a beginning defined by fix-it jobs and clock repair. For Benz, the study of engines was the primary tool he used to climb out of destitution. At Karlsruhe University, Benz studied under Ferdinand Rettenbacher, a man who approached mechanical engineering as a technical science. Rettenbacher was convinced that the massive steam engines of the era, which required enormous amounts of coal and water, were reaching their practical limits and would soon be replaced. This created a technological vacuum. Society relied on massive steam trains for long-distance travel and horses for everything else. There was no mechanical solution for personal, flexible transport. Benz envisioned filling this specific gap with a lightweight, self-propelled carriage that could operate independently of rails or animal power. It was a vision that put him at odds with his era. He was designing a future for a society that lacked the infrastructure to support it and the capital to believe in it. Benz's first business venture in 1871 was a partnership with a mechanic named August Ritter, intended to provide a steady income while Benz worked on his engine designs. The partnership was a disaster. Ritter proved unreliable, the debts grew, and local authorities eventually shuttered the workshop, impounding their tools and halting all operations. It was at this point that his fiancée, Bertha, stepped in. Understanding that Karl's work was on the verge of being lost, she took the extraordinary step of using her own dowry to buy out Ritter's share of the company, effectively becoming the sole financier of the workshop. Bertha's intervention highlights a recurring theme in the Benz legacy. Engineering brilliance is fragile without a partner willing to take the financial risks to protect it. In 1885, Benz finally integrated his experiments into a single machine, the Patent-Motorwagen. It was powered by a single-cylinder, 4-stroke gasoline engine, rather than a heavy steam boiler. The car was a collection of new inventions, including a trembler coil for electric ignition, a water radiator for cooling, and a steel tube chassis that resembled a large tricycle. When he took it to the streets, the public was terrified. The sputtering noise and lack of a horse led to accusations that the machine was demonic, and many onlookers feared the fuel tank would explode. This public anxiety translated directly into financial pressure. Banks demanded the company be incorporated to protect their interests, which diluted Benz's ownership to a mere 5%. The new corporate board quickly moved to sideline him. They viewed Benz as an eccentric inventor whose ideas were too risky, and they effectively stripped him of creative control over his own machine. While Benz had solved the technical problems of the internal combustion engine, he was now losing the battle against the corporate board that controlled his patents, tested in the real world. Without telling the board, she and her sons began a 106-kilometer journey from Mannheim to Pforzheim. She acted as mechanic along the way, using a hat pin to clear a fuel pipe, and had a shoemaker nail leather to the blocks, creating the first brake linings. Her arrival in Pforzheim proved that the automobile could navigate unplanned terrain and long distances. The trip effectively bypassed the board's skepticism and forced the public to acknowledge the machine as a functional method of travel. While Benz found some success with mass-produced models like the Velo, a new threat was emerging in Stuttgart. Gottlieb Daimler and Wilhelm Maybach were building high-performance front-engine cars that were significantly faster than anything Benz was producing. Their efforts were backed by Emil Jelinek, who pushed for even more power. He named their flagship racing model Mercedes after his daughter, creating a brand that was synonymous with speed. Benz's own board pressured him to compete on the racetrack, but the inventor was fundamentally opposed to the idea. He despised the noise and danger of auto racing. He viewed high speeds on public roads as a reckless distraction from the goal of building safe, reliable transportation. Benz was now in open conflict with his own company. He refused to abandon his methodical engineering approach for the market's new obsession with high-speed competition. Disappointed by the pivot toward racing, Karl Benz chose to walk away from the active management of his company. The board moved forward without him, producing massive racing machines like the 200-horsepower Lightning Benz. These successes in competition were what eventually convinced a global audience of the brand's superior engineering. Following World War I, the German economy collapsed. Hyperinflation and heavy taxes on luxury vehicles made it impossible for the two rival companies to survive as separate entities. In 1926, Benz and CE and Daimler Motor and Gesellschaft were forced into a merger of necessity, creating the company we now know as Daimler-Benz. All their vehicles were rebranded to Mercedes-Benz. Karl Benz, the man who started it all, watched from a seat on the board of directors until his death in 1929. The resulting company was a hybrid, born of economic survival. Karl Benz founded the industry, but the brand only endured by embracing the high-speed racing and industrial mergers he had spent his career resisting.